Welcome, Saddos, to the next episode of the Sitcom Archive Deep Dive Overdrive, or SADDO for short. My name is Alison Barton-Simmons.
Now then. See, I did it properly this time.
Oh, was that another then?
Yeah, I'm Eggs Benedict.
Oh.
That's how you do it. That's how Fred did it anyway.
Oh.
I'm getting there with it. I'm honing my Fred Truman.
Good. We are up to Series 2, Episode 4 of the 1980s John Sullivan. I was going to say classic, but it's more of a
hidden gem?
A cult classic. Do you think?
Yeah.
Cult classic of Dear John. This episode, entitled Sanctuary. Do we know how many viewers this episode got?
We don't, because I usually get that information off IMDb, but it wasn't on this week's. So
right, okay.
It probably is out there somewhere, but I do not know the answer. But nevertheless, you will enjoy it.
You will enjoy it. We're nearing the end now, aren't we, of Dear John, unfortunately. I've enjoyed this ride.
Yeah, just 3 episodes left after this one. This one was broadcast on September the 28th. So, yeah, towards the end of 1987. And I think the very last one was a Christmas special.
Right, okay.
A really good Christmas special. And although it wasn't intended to be the end of Dear John, it serves very well as a last one. And then, of course, the US run of Dear John started 1988. I read somewhere that it was teed up for a Series 3, but Ralph Bates was unwell.
Yeah.
So they gave the studio recording time to One Foot in the Grave, which was a new show.
Oh, right. That's quite interesting. The American version, did that do like the American Office, where it took the pilot and then ran with it from there, or did they take it? Have you seen enough of it to know how it worked? I've
seen a few clips of it, and it was almost verbatim the same lines.
Oh, okay.
Except drang instead of drink. And
drang instead of drink.
Kirk's name was
right.
Kirk Morris, not Kirk St. Moritz.
Oh, right.
And of course, that wasn't a pseudonym, that was just who he was. You know, he was a spy.
Yes.
So
because he was a spy.
So it wasn't verbatim, because obviously you wouldn't have had those scenes where he was living at his mum's. But it was very similar to the Dear John originals up until I think it ran for 4 series and about 100 episodes. So when you think there's 14 UK Dear Johns, the bulk of these US ones were originals. And John Sullivan didn't write all of those scripts. I mean, it got Americanized with writers' rooms and things like that.
It's a different process, isn't it? So I'd be interested to see just how it all played out and how it differed.
I got told the other day that I have a testicular pearl.
Where?
Well, where do you think?
Where are you keeping that?
Well, I had a lump and I went to get it checked out by an ultrasound person.
Right.
And he said, "You've got a testicular pearl." And I thought, "Oh, thanks very much." I thought it was a compliment.
Is that valuable? Is it? Could you have it removed and made into like jewellery or something?
I don't know.
I'm sure there's someone on Etsy. Someone on Etsy will do that for you if you wanted fashioning into like a necklace or something.
Yeah, I don't even like oysters even, and here I am with a pearl of a testicle.
Wow, special that, isn't it?
It's a calcification. And it's harmless enough, but it's just a nice little floaty lump. But I just thought that was quite a sweet thing to have, a testicular pearl.
Being referred to as a pearl, yeah, like not like a kidney stone. I always picture that as being something like really jaggedy and horrible and painful, but a pearl just sounds like it's,
I think it's much the same thing, except this one's in my nutsack rather than in my kidneys. Yeah,
it's just positioning, isn't it?
That's all it is, yeah. It's just formation.
If you ever have it removed, I'm sure there's someone that can like drop it into a necklace for you or a ring.
A friend of mine over here had a varicose vein removed from a leg, and she kept it. There's a big stringy fucking.
Did they pull it? I didn't. Do you know what? You learn something new every day. Did they actually pull it out as like a length of?
Well, I don't know how they go about doing it, but I know that she took great pleasure in flashing it around and saying, "Look at my varicose vein."
What, like waving it round her head?
It was pretty horrible to look at. It wasn't like a testicular pearl. Yeah, like Spider-Man.
You could thread them together and make some kind of
horrific human body art.
Yeah. You'd sell it, or you could put that on some niche website and that'd go for thousands.
You think?
Yes.
Well, I think we best move off this topic.
Yeah. Indeed.
So this week's episode charted at 12th place in the charts in the UK, and it had 10.8 million viewers.
That's better than last week's, isn't it?
By a good 3 million, yeah.
Oh, see, you lose Tosh, you gain 3 million viewers.
I think also whatever was on ITV with bloody Pierce Brosnan must have finished at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's up from 7.5 million to 10.8 million. And do you know what, Al? You will enjoy it.
I think I will. Before we start our deep dive this week, as we have with the last series, I've got a 1987 quiz if you'd like to take part, Ben.
Oh, because you did the 1986 one, didn't you? For
I did. It's all factual, newsy kind of stuff. So, if you'd like to give it a go, shall we have a try?
Oh, why not? Yeah.
Excellent. I've got, let me just check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 questions.
Blimey, okay.
Okay, some are just straight answers, some are multiple choice. So just give it your best. All right.
Okay.
I'll keep a tally of what marks you've got. Okay, number 1. What was the name of the ferry that capsized on the evening of March the 6th? Was it the Pride of Free Enterprise, the Spirit of Free Enterprise, or the Herald of Free Enterprise?
It wasn't the ferry across the Mersey.
It wasn't the ferry across the Mersey. It was off the coast of, I want to say, Holland. I remember this because I went on a you know, like moments in time that then they create like a core memory in your life.
Yeah.
I'd gone, it was my friend's 8th birthday and we'd gone to Wimpy for tea in Bolton, and I came back and this was on the news.
Right, I thought you were going to say you'd gone to Holland and sailed past it. Or something.
Although I do have a photograph of my nana and granddad on the ferry a couple of years before.
A different time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Sun had sold like reduced tickets prices for going on these trips. So like loads of people that had bought the tickets via the Sun newspaper had ended up on this ferry. So I'll tell you again: Pride of Free Enterprise, Spirit of Free Enterprise, Herald of Free Enterprise.
It's a Spirit, isn't it?
It was the Herald of Free Enterprise.
Oh, was it? Oh.
It was.
Oh. And did anyone die on that? I can't remember.
I think they did, yeah. It was to do with, and I think that they changed loads of the rules with regards to car ferries afterwards, because it was to do with the doors at the back and something not shutting, and water had gone on. And the company that ran the ferry, I'm sorry, I sound like a right statter on ferries. The ferry company just rebranded because everybody had seen on the news the picture of the capsized ferry, the photograph from above taken by a helicopter. They just rebranded them. They repainted them in like different colours so that people wouldn't associate it.
So they didn't rebrand as P&O, did they?
I've got a feeling they did, which obviously now is quite topical because they've just laid off loads of people.
They've shafted everyone by video message, haven't they?
It was awful, that, and your last day is today. Don't come back to work. Awful. So you're at nil still, I'm afraid. Question number 2 is still linked to question number 1. Name the charity single and super band that was formed to raise money for this event.
We'll go back to Ferry Across the Mersey.
Well, you're not. Think about other charity singles around this time and what the band was called.
Band-Aid.
So it was Band-Aid. So
this was Ferry Aid, was it?
It was Ferry Aid. It was, yeah.
That sounds like something that I used to make in my soda stream.
And the song that they recorded
was Ferry Across the Mersey? No.
It wasn't Ferry Across the Mersey. No, it's a bit too on the nose.
Oh. Go on, no idea.
Let It Be.
Oh.
I know.
Sorry, my Paul
Sorry.
McCartney bias kicked in then. Can't stand Paul McCartney.
I stuck it in there because I knew that it would bug you. Sorry.
Let It Be. Who was in it? Let me guess. Did it have Francis Rossi, Elton John, Midjour?
I think I remember seeing a picture of Boy George. Perhaps Bananarama were involved as well.
Yeah, they like to get their heads in those type of things, didn't they? Yeah.
But I think the Sun even like funded some of it, or they put it all together. They organised it, obviously, because they felt guilty.
Well, that's unlike them, isn't it? to own their mistakes.
Yeah. Number 3. Completely different topic now.
Good, I hope so.
We're off ferry aids and things like that. NHS prescription charges were increased to what price in March of 87?
Okay.
Was it £1.85, £2.40 or £3.80?
Well, it's going to be a complete guess, but £3.80 sounds like a lot in 1987.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with... I think I'm going to go with the middle one. £2... What was it?
Yes, you get a point for that. It was £2.40. God, you can only dream now of £2.40, can't you?
What did it jump up to from? Sorry.
I'm not sure, but I think it was £2.20 or something around that.
Right.
That figure. So it wasn't a massive jump, but it was. God, £2.40 sounds mega cheap now, doesn't it?
I don't know. That's roughly what I pay here. You know.
Is it what really?
Yeah, I pay $5 for any prescription that I need.
Wow, it's nearly a tenner here.
Is it?
Yeah, it's pushing £10 now. £9 something, I think.
Get up north the border, it'll be free. Scotland's the place to be, oh.
Pipe dreams. Okay, number 4. Who won the Football League First Division in May for the 9th time?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Was it Liverpool? Was it Everton? Or was it Tottenham?
Well, even though I should be celebrating this because it was Everton, I feel like it's an embarrassment because it's practically the last time they'd bleeding won anything. So,
is it really?
Yeah. They've won one thing since then, so it's quite embarrassing. And I'll probably get relegated fairly soon as well. So you haven't cheered me up there at all, Al.
Sorry.
Yeah, you just reminded me of how useless my football team is. Thanks for that.
Sorry. Number 5. Moving swiftly on. I think you'll know this one. Which store opened its first branch in the UK in Warrington in October 87?
IKEA.
Yes.
We've got an IKEA coming here now, you know.
Have you really? Have you not already got one there?
No, they're in Australia, but we've got one opening in Auckland. And the bloody Poms are so excited.
I bet they are as well. God, there'll be queues for like days, won't there?
Yeah, be IKEA wars like you used to see in the UK. Well, you probably still do. People stabbing each other to get to the...
They do, don't they? There was like a mass stabbing for over like mattresses or something, weren't there?
Crazy.
Okay, number 6. Operation Deep Scan was a £1 million search project in Scotland which failed to turn up evidence of what in 1987?
I will assume, although I have no memory of this whatsoever, the Loch Ness Monster.
It was, yes.
Oh, my guesses are paying off today. That's 4 out of 6, isn't it?
Okay, number 7. October the 19th became known as what after the stock market crashed?
Black Friday.
Oh.
Black Tuesday. Black Wednesday. Black Thursday. I don't
You've said them all apart from the one.
Black Monday.
Black Monday.
Was it? Oh.
It was. You can have half for that because you got black. Number 8. Final question. Which single, still a hit with the kids today, was the best-selling single in the UK in 1987?
Okay. 1987. And you say it's still a hit with the kids today?
Yeah, the kids know it.
Is it because of the Rick rolling thing?
It might be.
I can't remember what the bloody song's called. Hold on, let me sing it to myself. So do I. Never gonna give you up.
There we go. Yeah. Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up was the best-selling single of 1987.
Wow.
Well, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Oh, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5.
Have I? You sure?
No, you've not. You've got
5.5.
5.5. Because you got Black Monday. 5.5 out of 8. That's really good. Well done.
A lot of guessing going on.
Well, I don't think they were as difficult as I tend to make them often, so...
Well, the Everton one wasn't.
No, I knew you'd know that one.
Thank you for throwing that in.
It's all right. Should we get stuck into this episode then of Dear John?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get deep diving.
Dear John, Dear John, by the time you read breathe these lines out of dawn. Life goes on, right or wrong. Now it's all been said and done, dear John. Seems we've sung love's last song, dear John.
So we're on Series 2, Episode 4, Sanctuary. And we open, as we have in other episodes, at John's school. And all the kids are like bustling out, aren't they? It always gives me Grange Hill vibes when I see this.
Yeah, but
the kids all piling out.
I know what you mean, but it also gave me Hogwarts vibes because he was docking house points, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was. He's telling off kids for graffitiing. His friend Ken, who's a bit of a
shithouse
bugger. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Because he's a teacher as well at the same school, and he sees him. And Ken's invited John out for dinner, but John tells him that he can't go because he's been invited to a barbecue. It's a 1-to-1 barbecue. And
he's got his eye on someone as well, hasn't he?
He has. He doesn't want to miss it because he's met a woman called Liz, who he describes as 33-ish, attractive, has a car, and he met her on a ramble and they've really hit it off. So John's, he's got irons in the fire, hasn't he, John?
He has, but Ken's teasing him, saying, oh, you'll be doing Bob a Job week next.
Yeah, going on a ramble, taking the piss out of him.
I actually couldn't remember what Bob a Job week was, and when I looked it up, it was fairly obvious. I mean, Bob a Job meaning you get paid a bob for doing a job.
Yeah.
It was like a scouts thing, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, like an outdoorsy kind of kids thing, isn't it?
Obviously, it passed me by in my youth, but I think we should bring it back because it's quite a good idea for kids to be doing jobs and stuff like that, isn't it?
Of course
and just
it is.
Mind you, these days, the lazy bastards probably just won't do it properly and still expect a fiver.
And still want the money.
Fiver for a skiver.
So it all sounds pretty straightforward, really, that he should be just turning Ken down. I can't come. I've got I'm off to meet the lovely Liz. But Ken's really miffed that John's going to let him down. And now this really irritated me after what Ken did the other week.
Yeah.
When he sort of seduced Kate and not telling her that he actually had a wife and 5 kids. He's a bit of a scumbag, isn't he, really, Ken?
Yeah, he's horrible. I mean, he's manipulating John, even though John points out that when his marriage to Wendy ended, they never helped him out or invited him anywhere, and he said he went through the social menopause. Yeah.
Left alone in his bedsit without anybody around. So for Ken to be now needing John to do this and that, yeah, I think I'd be a bit annoyed.
But also, when you think about it, his plan here seems to be invite John round, soften her up with some jokes because apparently Maggie finds John funny.
Yeah.
And then go by 8 o'clock so I can get Maggie into bed.
Yep.
It's a weird ploy that is going to lead to coitus. He's going to get John to laugh her into bed so that he can get his end away.
Yeah.
Does it work like that?
He gets himself into all sorts of odd situations, doesn't he? Things that would benefit from just being honest. And it doesn't seem to work like that for John.
Or Ken. No, he's very dishonest.
That's the kind of guy I am.
John's round at Ken and Maggie's, and Maggie is obviously not herself. She's feeling quite irritated and annoyed. She's serving up the dinner to Ken and John, who are sat at the table, and one of the 5 kids, shouts that the dog won't drop the ball, and Maggie just bellows, "Shut up! Your daddy and his guest are trying to eat their dinner in peace and quiet." And John just looks mortified and very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, he does. But I have to say, Sue Holderness gives very good shrill, angry woman. She was
totally pissed off, weren't she?
And you see her like that in other things as well, with Boise and without Boise. She just gives good, angry woman, I think.
Yeah. So she serves up the dinner of chili con carne. John's trying to be dead polite and say, oh, well, this is a good chili con carne. There's chili con carne and there's chili con carne. And she says that she wouldn't know because that kind of thing, because she's not a teacher. So she's just irritated that John's there. It's not worked. Whatever ploy Ken had isn't working. Maggie goes and fills up the glasses of John and herself with wine and then just puts the bottle on the table, and Ken's got to help himself. And they're calling each other darling between gritted teeth. It's just horrible to watch.
Yes, it's really passive-aggressive, isn't it?
It is.
I don't understand Ken. He's not exactly being conciliatory, is he? If he wants to get John to laugh her into bed, why is he being so aggressive? And he says, "I'm not hungry," and makes little barbs to her. And John's doing this crazy laugh, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's so awkward in the situation.
Very, very weird. They talk about a holiday that they all went on together because the aim was to get her talking about reminiscing about happy times. But then the time that they choose to reminisce about is when Maggie ended up with a burst appendix and then ended up nearly dying of peritonitis, which I can't imagine is a good holiday memory, really.
You wouldn't think so, certainly.
But she says, well, it's the best holiday he ever took me on, and it's the only holiday he ever took me on. John tells Ken that he needs to talk, and the pair of them need to talk, really. He said that's what him and Wendy did.
Yeah.
But John says, don't leave it too late, because you've got 5 kids and a dog too, so you need to get this sorted, really.
Yeah, but Ken won't take John's good marital advice because it comes from a divorced man.
Yeah.
And also he's got this archaic male view of not talking about your problems that we've discussed before about how the archaic attitudes of men in the 80s. Well, not only men, I mean, there was the Alcoholics Anonymous thing, and that was all of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But he's definitely a bit Neanderthalish, isn't he?
Mm. John makes his excuses and says, I have to go, it's been bloody awful.
Yeah, this is honest.
Just thought it was a really good line. Yeah.
Tiger.
So we're now at the party. We're at the one-to-one club barbecue party that's been organised. Status Quo, rocking all over the world, he's booming out.
Yeah.
And we see Kirk twizzling round this blonde lady like his life depended on it. They're literally just flinging themselves about all over the place. Sylvia and Louise are discussing Kirk and the lady, and we see that side of Louise again, the side that we didn't like last week when she pushed Sylvia to tell the story about her husband George.
Yes.
Wearing ladies' clothes. So the lady that they're discussing is Wanda, who's at the party. We've never seen Wanda before, I don't think. But Sylvia says she used to be a skin cleanser model.
Yeah.
And Louise says, yeah, Swarfiga. What a bitch. Really nasty. So she's slagging off her facelift and her makeup. And she does that thing where she's slagging her off and then waving at her and like chatting to her. Oh, it's nasty.
She says she's got so many blackheads that when the fellas get bored, they can play Join Up the Dots.
Join the dots.
That made me laugh, to be honest. I know she's very bitchy. But...
Well, Liz arrives. We meet the infamous Liz that John is hot for. And Sylvia introduced herself to her. But they've met, apparently, on the ramble that John met Liz on. And they end up talking about Dr. Osborne, who is hosting this party. It's Dr. Osborne's party, who has a practice on Harley Street.
Well, this is it again where Louise suddenly reveals some of Sylvia's medical history. And she reveals a little bit later to Liz about the cross-dressing husband. She's just...
Again.
Sylvia's there just to be the butt of Louise's jokes, but it makes us like Louise less, doesn't it?
It does indeed. It does indeed, because Louise even makes reference to getting a free inflatable cushion. So it's also something quite...
Bowly.
Potentially personal and embarrassing. It's bowel-related or bum-related, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is... Why would you want to talk about that at a party unless you'd offered the information yourself? Ooh.
This lady who's playing Liz, by the way, this is Lucy Fleming.
Okay.
I was about to say she was Bob a Job in the 80s because she popped up in sitcoms all through the 80s, Ever Decreasing Circles, Robin's Nest, Never the Twain, several other ones.
Quite familiar.
Yeah, she's one of those. She's got a proper 80s face, I would say.
80s face.
Yeah.
She might turn up in bric-a-brac later.
Bloody hell, Ralphie, what a dreadful kitchen.
Liz mentions that she's quite envious of Kate, who we've not seen yet, and what she's doing. Kate is planning a holiday to travel around Europe and quit a job. And Liz and Sylvia both know all about this, and they know that Kate left her job a fortnight ago, so obviously she's quite serious about this impending trip. And Louise is gutted because Kate's not talked about it with her.
Yeah, you can see it all over her face. She's not happy, is she?
Isn't it marvellous what Kate's doing? I do envy her.
Oh, yeah? What do you mean, this holiday she's planning?
Well, it's more than just a holiday, Louise. She's thinking of giving up her job and travelling all round Europe.
Oh, she wouldn't take a decision of that magnitude without asking my advice first, dear?
Well, she left her job over a fortnight ago, and she flies from Heathrow next Thursday.
Yes. That's what I advised her to do.
Yeah, Kate's leaving from Heathrow next Thursday, and Louise acts like she knows all about it. I'm starting to not like Louise at all, really.
No. Well, I don't think she is supposed to be a sympathetic character.
No.
Really. I mean, she's funny because of her... Well, actually, Margot probably wasn't supposed to be a sympathetic character in The Good Life at first, but
No.
those idiosyncrasies of her, which often make her an awful person, are very amusing.
Of course they are.
But I think Margot ended up being having more redeeming qualities with her friendships than Louise certainly is showing.
Yeah. Ralph introduced himself to Wanda, the lady that they've all been calling, and she talks about being a free spirit to Ralph, and she's quite enticing, isn't she, and flirty. She looks like she's trying to get it on with Ralph.
Oh, she's no small talk. She's just straight onto it. I want a man.
She is, yeah. Ralph agrees, but then goes off on a tangent about his motorcycle combination.
Yeah.
Very sexy. Wanda's going. She's going to be leaving soon, and she needs a man. Ralph suggests Mr. Hopkins because he doesn't understand that she's trying to get her end away with him.
Do you think he's asexual, Ralph?
I see him as being asexual, yeah.
Yeah. Or a fetishist. Do you think he's just more into his...
Terrapins,
or, I was going to say inanimate objects, like his motorcycle combination or his hat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he just misses all the cues. If he's not, he misses the cues totally. He doesn't sort of understand that she is literally trying to get him to go back with her.
If he was a real person now, he'd probably be diagnosed somewhere on the spectrum, I think.
Perhaps. She says she needs a fit, strong man with stamina. And Ralph says if he meets anyone who fits the bill, he'll send them over. Aww. Kirk and the blonde are still flinging themselves about all over the conservatory. Wanda introduces herself to Kirk. Now, here we go. This has potential. While the best-selling single of 1987 plays in the background, Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up.
Subject of a quiz, I believe.
So the blonde breaks herself free from Kirk's clutches and she says, I feel sick. And Louise does say that he has that effect on most people. Liz asks if she needs her to get Dr. Osborne to come and help. But it turns out that the blonde lady is Dr. Osborne.
Yes.
I did that internal misogyny thing and pictured that it was a man, Dr. Osborne, that had hosted the barbecue.
I pictured it as Willem Dafoe because he played Dr. Osborne in Spider-Man. Thought he was going to come waltzing out there. I'm something of a scientist myself.
Kirk grabs Ralph as he's passing and says, don't worry about me now, I don't need a lift.
Yeah.
Pulled, this chick wants me. And Ralph's concerned that it's Wanda and that she only wants one thing, but which Kirk obviously thinks that he's the man for the job. Of course he would.
Yeah, it's quite clever this, because at this point we think that Ralph is warning Kirk about her sexual appetite, but the punchline comes in a minute, doesn't it?
Kate walks past them and Kirk asks her what it feels like to be a loser. As if Kate feels like she's missing out there.
It's very unnecessary.
Kate says, I don't know. Tell me sometime. And Wanda and Kirk disappear. They disappear off. Louise and Kate talk about her leaving, and we find out that Kate is an accountant and has worked at her job for 11 years and gets the train each morning with little men in bowler hats. I didn't picture that. I didn't picture her. I didn't picture her being like a job in the city.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd pictured her as. Because, I mean, she doesn't even have a surname in the credits. You know, Kirk, Ralph, John, all have surnames, but the women don't, apart from Mrs. Arnott, who doesn't have a first name.
You get one or the other.
Yeah, if you're a woman, yeah.
Kate describes her life. I thought this was quite poignant. She describes her life as she's bored and feels like she's on a life support machine fitted with a dimmer switch.
Yeah, that's sad, isn't it?
It is.
But at the same time, you're happy for her because she's got this freedom and she's clearly quite liberated by it. She's saying, I could be away for 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 years. And you think,
that's amazing.
Good on you, Kate. And she's got no financial woes either, it seems, which is rare in Thatcher's Britain.
Yeah. Kate's going to, the plan is to go to a villa in Greece and then carry on travelling But Sylvia says to her, don't drink the water.
Oh, sitcom alert. Don't drink the water, Blakey.
Don't drink the water. In Greece, once George had drunk the water and spent most of the holiday in the bathroom. And then they returned to the same place a few years later, and you could still see George's teeth marks on the towel rail, which I thought was a brilliant line.
Men can be such brutes.
Kate is planning to have a leaving party before she goes off on her travels, but makes it quite clear that Kirk is not invited.
Wise move, I think.
John arrives and apologises and takes Liz to one side, but she thought she'd been stood up. Poor Liz.
Yeah.
There's a bit of small talk, and Liz says that he came in the nick of time because she was starting to reminisce about her husband who loved Greece, because Sylvia had been talking about Greece. He was a bit of an amateur archaeologist, and John says that her husband was stupid to let her walk away. So he's got all the best intentions of making her feel good.
Yeah.
But then he's misunderstood, and it turns out that Lizzie's husband died.
Yes, and she's a widow.
God.
He really put his foot in
She's
it.
a widow.
And he headbutts the wall, which is his trope.
His thing.
Did you see it wobble like Fawlty Towers, though?
I know it did. It did. I did notice that. Oh, dear.
I thought O'Reilly had that wall up.
Kirk reappears after disappearing with Wanda, moaning that he'd left with Wanda, a car had broken down, and he tried to help her restart it by pushing it, and she just drove off.
Good on her. I kind of warmed to Wanda. I thought, good on her. She knows what men are useful for in her life, and she's just like, I'm just going to use my raw sexual energy to entice one to be my mechanic. Good on you, Wanda.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be less risky if she just got some jump leads, perhaps.
Probably, yeah. Louise made a little barb about Wanda again. She says, poor Wanda has nothing but trouble with batteries.
I know. I did think, I wonder what she was getting at there.
I'm assuming it was a dildo reference.
Yeah, I think so.
But without Mrs. Arnott to get a rape alarm out.
Rape alarm?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, God. Kirk's now heard about Kate's party, and she says that he should stay away, but she explains to him that she's going travelling. But this is quite a tender moment, and when he's being really tender, Peter Blake's really attractive, he's really good looking. There's a real sort of softness to him. And he says, well, take care of yourself. And Kate's about to sort of give him some kind of normal sarky reply that she normally does, when she realises what he said, and she looks quite touched.
So, hey, you're off around the world, eh?
Yes, I'm taking some time off to travel.
Yeah, well, you take care of yourself.
I'll do exactly what I... What?
Well, you take care of yourself. I mean, there's a lot of heavy-duty people out there, and I don't want you getting hurt.
No, I'll be careful.
I'll miss you.
You? You'll miss me?
I want you to have this, Kate.
Why?
It's my lucky charm. It's got me out of many a tight corner. Keep it with you.
Yes. I will.
And I think she's sort of taken aback, really, isn't she? She's really surprised.
Yeah.
And he takes off his necklace and gives it her as like a lucky charm.
And she's swooning at this point, isn't she?
She is. Yeah, she is. She agrees to wear it and she kisses him. Louise looks like aghast.
Yeah.
And Kirk then asks if he can come to the party, and Kate says, "Get lost, Lee's bag." Which I thought, I didn't know this. I hope she was joking, because I felt like I think he really meant that.
I don't think it was that well done in terms of leaving it ambiguous, because Kirk looked like, oh, yeah, she is joking. But I wasn't convinced by Kate's remarks that and the look on her face that it comes across as a joke. So,
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? It just didn't
yeah.
quite come across. But, as you say, Peter Blake, when he's being vulnerable, he's got quite the breadth of acting abilities, and he goes just like that from being obnoxious to being vulnerable and really caring. But then we get a brilliant punchline, don't we, when Kate walks away?
Yeah. He grabs another crucifix from his pocket and puts that round his neck.
I love that.
It's brilliant, isn't it? He obviously has them lined up in his pocket, ready.
Yeah.
And then he grabs Dr. Osborne and says, "Come on, Doc, let's rock." And off he goes.
That's the kind of guy I am.
We're next at John's flat. This is the end of the evening, and John and Liz are back at his bedsit, and he thanks her for the lift home. He said, I'd invite you in, but my parents might still be up. But it didn't really land as a joke, and I felt really like, I was a bit, what's going on? Where is he? Where's he gone?
It's in character for him, though, isn't it, to be awkward, socially awkward?
He's very awkward. He is very socially awkward. They kiss, and he says, are you in a hurry? She thinks it's quite late, but he tries to convince her to stay, and he says he's cleaned up his flat, sort of like, in anticipation. But she's a bit concerned that he's done too much planning to get her back.
Yeah.
To the bedsit to have his wicked way with her. But he says, no, I hoped that would happen. And he was quite honest about it. And she admits that she's already turned her car alarm on. She's turned the car alarm on, knowing that she's not going straight back to that car. Everything's
coming up, John, isn't it?
It is indeed. So they go inside, and John thanks God with a fist pump. He's overexcited at this stage. They go inside, and then open the door, and the ultimate passion killer of Ken being in his bed. I was thrown by this.
It's a little bit far-fetched, this, isn't it? Not only because John says, "How did you get in?" and Mrs. Lemensky had helped him get in.
Yeah, with the credit card.
She doesn't even have a key, so yeah, she used the credit card. So he's gotten in, even though he doesn't know Mrs. Lemensky, could be anyone. He's convinced her to break into John's flat, and then the cheeky got in his bed.
Got in his bed. Ken and Liz shake hands to say hi, and we find out that Maggie's thrown him out. And it's the end of 20 years of marriage.
Yeah, he's quite sorrowful, and he's starting to have like a sliver of sympathy for him. But then, as he sort of wallows, he suddenly turns and says, "Oh, she's a bit tasty, isn't she?"
Yeah.
Referring to Liz.
I took your advice. I talked to her, and then I listened to what she had to say, and she said, "Get out." I mean, that's it. Get out. It's the end of my marriage. It's the end of 20 years. I've lost my home, my wife, my lovely kids. I've lost everything. She's rather tasty, isn't she?
He's a menace. He's a menace. Ken tells John to just give him a couple of weeks, and John offers Liz a drink. Ken just tells John to give him a couple of weeks, let him stay with him till it all sort of blows over. And John offers Liz a drink, but she turns him down because I think she knows at this point that she's not stopping, because there's, three's a crowd. John's cross though, but I think Liz she's relieved at this point.
Yeah, she says that, doesn't she? That she doesn't usually stay over on a first date. Yeah.
So it's almost like stopped her in her tracks from getting too carried away, perhaps. John would really like to see Liz again, though, and they make plans to go for Sunday lunch, which is quite sweet. Obviously, hopefully without Ken. And they kiss, and she says goodbye. John bangs his head on the wall again in frustration, and we hear Mrs. Lemensky tell him to stop. But John tells her to shut up.
Not loud, though. I think he's a little bit scared of Mrs. Lemensky.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting, Mrs. Lemensky in this series so far. I might be wrong, but I'm not entirely sure she's been on screen, and yet she's had lines in every episode.
Really? But we've not really seen her, have we not? I think we've seen her in one episode,
yes.
I'm sure.
She answered the phone.
She had a fashion corner moment.
She answered the phone, didn't she? And then knocked on the door. But mostly she's just shouting through walls at him, calling him a crazy person.
Yeah. We're back in John's bedsit the following day. The bell goes, and it's Liz, but John's not expecting her because it's a day early.
Yeah.
But she's come round to take him out for lunch at a hotel, and she's booked a room.
So the Sunday dinner that she was going to take him for is the night after a hotel trip that she's booked, but she hadn't mentioned it to him, which is overcomplicating things somewhat. Give the guy a chance to plan his trip away,
Yep, she's taking them away, and they need to set off, so he needs to get packing, which he does, and just grabs loads of stuff and puts it in a Tesco carrier bag. That's not sexy.
No,
is it?
It isn't. But prior to the ban on carrier bags, I was a big user of carrier bags myself. I just use them everywhere I went, so I can relate to John. What, for like a sexy night away? You'd just put everything in a carrier bag. Well, when you're getting all this, who cares if he brings a carrier bag? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's already in the offing. Who cares what you take your grundies in?
John monologues out loud about going to a hotel, and that she's paying, which I don't know, that made me feel a bit icky, that.
Well, he is skint, to be fair to the guy. He is living on his bones of his arse, so he's probably just chuffed that he's able to go away with a girl he likes. And
with a lady, and then he thanks God, because obviously that's what it's all down to.
Yes.
And that's where the episode ends.
Seems we've sung love's last song, dear John.
There was a little bit there where it became apparent that Ken had gone back to Maggie. And it wasn't because they'd particularly changed their minds so much as he was hungry and Maggie had cooked some food. And it just occurred to me that Maggie must have wanted him back, to have made him his favourite dinner and called him. And I thought, bloody hell, Maggie, you can do better.
I know.
I was sad for Maggie in a way.
Yeah. Does she appear any further in the series? Do we hear from Maggie again?
I think we do. I think we see her at least one more time, but I might be wrong. But whilst I was sad for Maggie, I was made up for John that things are looking up for him, because usually things are looking up and there's some hope, and then it's dashed at last for John.
Yeah.
And actually, I felt this episode was quite low on gags, really, but it wasn't a slog because they were moving the story on more. It was story-driven, and it was enjoyable. It
was, yeah.
Even though the humour wasn't as heavily present as usual.
No, there was the odd good sort of John Sullivan 1-2, which I quite enjoyed. Usually involving Sylvia, and I like that, the fact that she was so downtrodden in the episode by Louise, but still managed. She was the character that got the funny lines for me in this episode.
Kirk getting the replacement cross out of his pocket.
Was that your favourite bit?
That was my favourite bit, yeah. I just thought that sums up that character so well.
Absolutely.
It's a shame that when he opened his wardrobe in that episode, we just didn't see 100 of them hanging up.
Just all hanging, yeah.
Did you manage to get any bric-a-brac this week, Al?
I did get some bric-a-brac. I got a few bits of bric-a-brac, actually. They're all sort of, rather than being visual bric-a-bracs, they're verbal bric-a-bracs. Is that all right?
Yeah.
They're not facial bric-a-bracs. It's so...
Like expressions of the time, is that what you mean?
Yeah. And things that were reminiscent of that time as well, things that were talked about. When Louise was slagging off Wanda and her makeup, she referred to Artex, and I know that Artex is still a thing. You know, like the stuff that your parents just slathered all over the ceiling in random pattern shapes. I know now it's still available and it's still a thing that you can have done, but just Artex ceilings just make me think of the 80s. Yeah.
There are a lot of things like that, though, aren't there? Like, it's almost a similar brand name, but Raljex, like Deep Heat.
Yeah.
That's still around, but people just refer to it as Deep Heat now. But I'm pretty sure the brand Raljex is still around.
Raljex,
and it makes me think of the 80s, Raljex.
Artex, oh. And trying to get Artex off now. If you bought a house now and then tried to strip the Artex, just burn it down. Just burn the house down and build it
Start again, yeah.
Don't bother. My other piece of bric-a-brac was Kate talking about going to work as an accountant, and each morning she's walking to her job alongside little men in bowler hats, which again made me. I don't think that's something that people that work in the city they don't wear bowler hats anymore, but it was a thing, wasn't it, to have a bowler hat and an umbrella?
Do you know? I'm inclined to think it possibly wasn't a thing by that stage, and that it was. I don't know. I didn't live in London in the 80s, but
no.
I'd be interested to know if anyone commuted to work in London in the 80s, whether actually that had gone out of fashion by that point. I would have thought it was more 60s, dying out in the 70s, and probably gone by the 80s. But that's just a hunch. Okay.
Maybe prior to I'm thinking, like the big boom, the big sort of financial boom.
Yes, yeah.
Like when Canary Wharf was becoming a thing in London and like the financial district. Prior to that, maybe we're at the tail end of bowler hattage.
Yeah, perhaps.
And I think I had one more. Oh, yeah, again, it was another non-physical bric-a-brac. The grandstand theme on the telly when John was marking the books.
Yeah.
And I know it's not that long since, but that particular version of the grandstand theme just made me... And it might have been the one that was right up to the end, but grandstand just makes me think of the 80s.
Grandstand music, though, is actually... I'm going to confess this. It's actually a piece of music I will put on when I want to perk up.
Do you? Oh, I like that.
I regularly put on, if I just need to pick me up, like if no one else is in the house and I can have a little dance about and punch the air.
Yeah.
I put on something like Grandstand, or, in fact, a lot of BBC Sport themes are really uplifting.
Cricket theme.
The cricket, the snooker, the skiing, Ski Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a real happy, feel-good orchestral kind of sound that you get from these BBC themes. What's the other one? Sports Night? There's loads of them that are just really uplifting and positive.
Yes, they are, aren't
Grandstand's
they?
brilliant, especially that bit where it drops. That bit when it comes in.
Yeah, yeah, it makes me want to do a happy little jig. So yeah, them are my three non-physical bric-a-bracs. Do you have any physical bric-a-brac?
Well, I had two, but we've covered one already. It was the Tesco carrier bag. I know carrier bags aren't that long gone in our history, but that particular design of the Tesco bag was very 80s. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I'm a big fan of a carrier bag. I know that it's good that we don't mass produce them, but I miss them a little bit, I have to admit.
Yeah.
It's quite funny, you know, Angelos Epithema, who we've discussed before.
Yeah, he has a carrier bag.
He always has that Sainsbury's bag, the orange one, and that was his act. And then they stopped producing them. So he actually put an appeal out on Twitter because he needed more of them because it was part of his look. So he had people sending him old Sainsbury's bags.
Oh, were they like the crappy thin ones that you needed?
I think so, yeah. Those sort of, very thin, orangey.
Very thin ones. Very orange.
The only other thing I spotted was a Ernie on the shelf in Maggie and Ken's house. You know, the Muppets.
Okay.
The Muppets Ernie.
What, Sesame Street Ernie?
He was on the shelf behind John.
Was he? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I don't know what he was doing there. Who was the fan of Ernie in that particular household?
I like Ernie.
I like Ernie. So who's your MVP this week?
My MVP this week is Sylvia.
Ooh. That's interesting because I've picked Kate and it's the first MVP she's got. They're both MVP virgins up to this point.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. And yet they've now both got one each in this, what is it, the 10th episode that we've covered?
Right. See, if you'd have asked me last week whether I thought I was going to give Sylvia MVP this week, I would have said probably not, no, because she's really irritating. But I just feel like the treatment that she got from Louise is making me warm to her, which is often how I end up liking characters, because I feel like they need a bit of TLC.
I quite like her anyway. I know she has got the irritating voice and laugh, but she's quite sweet-natured. So
she is. She's quite harmless, isn't she?
She is. Yeah, and I've given mine to Kate just because she's taken her life, by the balls and decided it's there to be lived, and I just think, good on you, Kate.
Well done, Kate. I have some fashion corner if we'd like to take a venture over.
Of course. Let's go there now.
Whatever happened to those clothes we wore? It seems we never wear those clothes no more. Fashion corner.
So first on my list this week for Fashion Corner is Maggie's red blouse when she's dishing up the chili con carne. She's in like a red blouse with an open neck. It was very 80s looking and reminiscent of the Linda Bellingham mum character in the OXO adverts.
That
she
specific.
Gave me OXO mum vibes. And then she's wearing either a tartan pinny or a skirt, and it's often difficult to sort of tell the difference because she didn't really move around much. So that was Maggie in the kitchen. Kate, I think a re-emergence of the peach dress that she had on the other week with a white jacket. A lot of these jackets that the ladies have on are things, like I've said before, that you would see today, then they don't really look dated. Sylvia's got a white dress with like a branch and leaf pattern in blues and greens, which is quite pretty. Louise at the party is in a white, stripy, I think it was black and green, mum blazer, again. With a round neck top underneath, with thick gold chunky jewellery and earrings, again very reminiscent of the era. Liz we've not seen her before, but she's dressed in like a very pale Cadbury purple jacket. So these jackets, all the ladies are in these jackets, apart from Wanda, who is in a little black dress and silver jewellery.
Yeah.
So obviously she's dressed different to the other ladies, and I think that's why they took a bit of a swipe, because she's obviously doesn't fit their mould of the conservative mum jacket.
Do you know, I thought it was, what's her name, who played Beppy DeMarco's mum in EastEnders at first.
All right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was in Bergerac as well, wasn't she? She was John Bergerac's missus. But in EastEnders, she always had that bit of white in her head.
Yeah. She did, like a streak, Malin streak.
Yeah, my dad always called her bird shithead. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
I can't remember what the actress's name is.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's kind of what it looked like. Anyway, it wasn't her, so I don't know why I bring it up. Please resume.
Thank you. Not with bird shit in her hair. There was a lady in the background in the barbecue scene in like a mustard coloured shiny suit, which was, again, when I think about music videos, it had like a music video vibe to this suit. It was mustard coloured, shiny, with a baggy cut and long thigh length jacket and a bubble perm. So she sort of fit the bill for 1980s. A special mention at the end here goes to Ken in his pale blue t-shirt when he was in John's bed with NUT in navy lettering and a hand holding a lit torch. So he'd obviously got this at some... It was a freebie that he's been given at some NUT conference for the teachers.
Oh, is that what it was?
He's obviously got it in his bag of goodies when he's leaving, and it's now been relegated to the pyjama drawer.
Do you know what it makes me think of? That Fright the Conchord song when is it Business Time, when he's wearing that old t-shirt. Team building exercise 99.
That's it, exactly, that's where it's from. Oh dear, I've got so many of them t-shirts. Yeah, t-shirts that get relegated to pyjamas.
Yes, loads of them.
So yeah, that was it. That's it. That is it for Fashion Corner this week. You can follow us at SADDO Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, where we post rare photos and videos on Dear John, Fawlty Towers and The Good Life and more. We have a Facebook page you can find by searching SADDO Podcast, and we also have a growing Facebook group that you can join and contribute to with discussions and memes and rarities that you might find yourself. This is where we post the episodes we deep dive each week, and for now it might be the only place where you can catch Dear John. Subscribe to our newsletter as well by visiting our website saddo.club, where you can also get more information about us, read our blog, shout us a coffee, or take our super tricky Good Life and Fawlty Towers quizzes. Get in touch, email us at saddopodcast@gmail.com, and subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Do we know what next week's episode is?
Yes, next week's episode is called Torquay.
Oh, see, in my head then I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice if it was a crossover episode with Fawlty Towers?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
Just before we go, a little plug for Belinda Lang's forthcoming play in Salisbury. She's opening a play, The Children, in Salisbury. Can't remember the venue, but if you Google it and you want to go and see Belinda Lang's latest play, I'm sure that you can find details if you're in the Salisbury region. Just thought I'd throw that in there, because if you like Belinda Lang, then you might want to go and see her latest work.
Excellent.
So we'll see you next week for Series 2, Episode 5, Torquay.
I'll see thee.
Oh, fuck, what am I going to do? Damn you.
Dear John, by the time you read these lines, I'll be gone. Life goes on, right or wrong. Now it's all been said and done, dear John. Seems we've sung love's last song, dear John.